Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So today we have another stimulus update. So it looks like we have some good news again, right? Well, so in this video, I'm going to go over just the things that Trump has signed these executive orders around, and also kind of the truth behind those executive orders and will it actually happen? So if you're new to this channel, we like to talk about money. We like to talk about the wisdom behind money and investing and how you can use your money to benefit you. So it doesn't matter how much you make, you still can have success financially. And on this channel, this is what I talk about. So feel free to like, subscribe, and comment. Okay, guys, so as we know that this week has just passed and Congress has not done what they were supposed to do. The Republicans and the Democrats, they kind of were playing sides in order just to kind of use this for, some type of leverage around the election. To be honest, that's probably what most of this is about, the election. So everybody's trying to find some leverage to get what they want, to do what they want, in order to, win when it comes to the next election. Because as we know, it's a presidential election, so that's pretty serious. So of course, you're going to see Donald Trump kind of in the mix. Because the Democrats and Republicans could not come to an agreement, I still don't understand why it's so hard to just do such an easy job when it's already clear what needs to happen. Nevertheless, they did not come to an agreement. And so because of that, they're supposed to still meet next week. So they're still going to talk to try to get things together. And seemingly, it looks like they're now trying to meet in the middle. So I'm hoping that things are able to be squared out next week like it should be. One of my reasons of still being hopeful for next week, and you should too, is because signing executive orders don't necessarily mean that anything's going to happen. But before we get into that, so here's the things that Trump has signed executive orders around. So he wants to extend unemployment not by $600 a week, but by $400 a week. And with that $400, he wants each state to pay 25%. So basically the government, federal, will give $300 and your state would give $100. And we already have some states already crying out saying, we don't have that extra money to add on top of the other state benefits we're already doing. So yes, it could be something to give people that's more than something. So that would be an extra $1,600 a month, from wherever people are left after this unemployment extension has lapsed. So basically it's kind of like putting a Band-Aid over a gunshot wound. But, I guess it would be something if it actually could happen. Now, the next thing is the payroll tax. So if you make under $100,000 a year, what that means is you would see more money into your check. So it means less taxes are coming out of your check. So it might be a situation where it's retroactive and may go back to December, as I've read some reports that says it may go all the way back to December, which means that somehow you would need some type of payment or get some type of refund, I guess. But ultimately, if this goes through, you would see more money into your check. Now, here's the catch-22 about that. Some of that money kind of helps to fund things like our Social Security and Medicare. Now, it looks good on one side, but on the other side, it's also taking away from another place. Of course, that money is not just going to come out of nowhere. It's going to come and it's going to, kind of take away from another place. So yes, you would see more money in your check. Social Security and Medicare, those things would suffer a little bit behind that. So what does that mean for you? Meaning that, you can't depend on those things in the future. And you've heard this for years. So it's important for you to learn how to save your money. And it's important for you to learn how to invest. So that way, when you do retire, you're not depending on those things. I look at the Social Security check from some of the older people in my family, what they get now. And I'm telling you guys, it's absolutely nothing. It may seem something, but it's like $300 or $400 or maybe $200. That's not a lot for somebody to survive on, even though they may be older and don't have as much bills. I mean, come on, for real? All right, so now the next thing is about the moratoriums, the bans on evictions. Now, of course, executive orders don't mean that it just goes into place like that. So currently you still have people that are going through the process of being evicted by the end of this month. Some are already in the process right now of being evicted right now, this minute, because in some states, like mine, those moratoriums ended not in July, they ended back in June. So eviction protection is important. It's definitely something that needs to happen ASAP. Also on the list was student forgiveness. So basically it would extend the student forgiveness for like your interest and things like that. So, and as far as your deferment, because right now things kind of deferred till, I think it was like September of next year or something. I can't remember, but basically it would help defer your student loans and would help to defer the interest and things like that. So that way you're not charged per se for not paying on it during deferment, because sometimes during deferment, you still charge interest. So those are the things that's on the list. Does that mean you're getting the stimulus check? No, that still has not been squared away because, you know, our kids, the Republicans and the Democrats, they can't get along. So now here's the thing with the executive orders. They can all be challenged by Congress, because what happens is it kind of, you know, it may not be the same thing as legislation, but it kind of has to become a law just like legislation. And that can be challenged by Congress. Also, Congress can write something else and actually override this. And if they don't agree with it, they can challenge it in court. So it doesn't mean that you're getting anything just because those executive orders were written. It can be pushed for that, but it doesn't mean anything is just going to turn over like that. So as far as the dates of when it's happening, there are none right now. And so there's a lot of areas that are gray, and there's not a lot of details yet because everything has to go through a process. So I'm hoping that this week coming, that these people can come to some type of agreement, because there's so many different things within those stimulus bills that affect people. Now, of course, you know, it also has a lot of stuff that affects business and whatever, you know, things that they, or favors they're trying to get out of the deal that favors them and things like that. So hopefully next week these things can be passed. But an executive order it's a nice step, and it sounds great. I'm signing these executive orders to make this happen. But when it concerns money in our government, there are checks and balances. So signing an executive order doesn't necessarily mean as much as we think it does. It does give some type of progress towards a thing, but all those things can be challenged. All those things can be override. It can be held up. So let's say if, you know, Congress decides to say, you know what, this $400, you know, a week thing, not too sure about it, they can actually hold that whole process up. So this is kind of just the actual process. So yes, things take time, and yes, it made great headlines. And like I said, be mindful, a lot of this stuff just has to do with the election between the Republicans and the Democrats and the way that they're talking about each other and stuff like that. And they're kind of using the people to try to benefit themselves. I don't like that at all. So really at this point, you know, we're still waiting to see, and we hope that something will happen. And if anything, get the unemployment going, and especially these eviction bans for people, because that is something that we just really don't want to have to see, where people are getting evicted. Like, so if they get evicted, are we going to have something set up to be able to help them? You know, because once you get evicted, and especially if it goes on your record, it's you know, it's difficult to get another place. And during a pandemic, that's just not being a good human, like being a good person, where you just have people out on the streets because the pandemic caused them not to be able to make their payments. Whatever the case is, this is just not the time to encourage that. Yes, it hurts both sides of the fence, because you have someone that is also the renter, or the person that owns it, that is, you know, renting their place, or has, you know, need of making money as well, because they have a mortgage to pay too. So this whole situation just isn't good. Nevertheless, we're hoping that things can happen this week, and at least by 2 weeks out, you know, things will be able to, you know, you'll start to see some stimulus money. You'll start to see some unemployment turn around again and things like that. This process should not have taken this long. This should have been done months before, so that when things would just roll right into the next. But, you know, anyways, thanks for joining me. I hope this video has given you some insight on what's currently going on right now. Be sure to like and subscribe and stick around for the next video, and I'll see you guys soon. Peace.